Why are we doing this interview in Dubai? Those who are against you and those who have put cases on you, they're saying you're like an international fugitive.
That's a game played wrong by a few vulture lenders who are based out of US. These are narratives which they have created trying to take control of the company.
Lookout notice that ED has put out?
If ED puts out a lookout notice, they will never make that public because that defeats the purpose.
Videos which were there on social media saying they were overworked, underpaid. There was this hyper-aggressive mode that the sales force went.
We have made mistakes, but all of that was in the initial years. We have corrected all of that. I will never sell anything to anyone which I won't give it to my son.
These legal cases take place.
Yeah.
You get named in it too.
Try and weaken Byju by blaming and pulling everybody around him who supports him.
They send people to our home. They threaten people.
All billionaires say this, no, money doesn't matter, but it does matter.
Me, my brother Divya put thousands of crores back. In bad times, who puts the money back?
Who lost their jobs. There are people who said there were toxic environments.
See, when you scale, no, and you have 85,000 people, this is bound to happen in single-digit percentage.
Parents, why should they trust you if that trust has got shattered in some way?
We get 250 million students coming to our platforms. That's 5 times more than anyone who's if you can even call them a competitor.
We both don't belong in courtrooms, we belong in classrooms.
BCCI bit.
Yeah.
Explain what happened there.
We actually sold our homes and paid BCCI. We should have got the control back literally within 2 weeks of that starting.
Whether it was Messi, whether it was SRK. Do you think that it was just too much of marketing?
No.
You having homes in Singapore, flashy cars. In Dubai, you have several homes, mansions and all.
We don't own any luxury car. We do not own any luxury home.
We stay in a rented mansion. And I know it's a big home because we have 15 people at home. Anything which I'll tell here, I will show you proof. And this will go online. I am telling you, the whole world, come and challenge me. I'll put this outside.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. This episode is being filmed in Dubai. My guest today is Byju Raveendran, co-founder of BYJU'S, the unicorn that took the world by storm, and then the dream soured. Everything that could go wrong with it did just that. The Indian entrepreneur, investor and educator who, along with his wife Divya Gokulnath and his brother Byju Raveendran, was worth about $3 billion and was the toast of investors, and then came the downfall. The shareholders ousted him as CEO in 2024. He challenged that EGM. Let's meet with Byju Raveendran to find out what went wrong and how he plans to correct his mistakes. Welcome to the show, Byju. I am going to begin, of course, before my audience turns around and says that I'm, calling you by your first name. We're going to keep this informal, the conversation, so that's why I'm calling you by your first name. My question to you first is that why are we doing this interview in Dubai? Why are you here?
Thanks for having me. Now, I've been here from 2021 onwards, unlike what you might find in media. It's like I came here in 2021. I've been outside India from 2019 onwards. 2019 October is when I came out of India, first to take care of dad's treatment. And then I was focusing on international expansion, acquisitions and international expansion. So last 6 years I've been outside India. 21 September, came here, kids go to school here. And moved. We have always lived in a large joint family. Like there will always be 15, 18 people at home. First in my small village in Kannur, and then in Bangalore. And in 2021, all of us moved here. So then I was traveling to India as and when it's required. Prior to insolvency in July 2024, like 12 months, I was going there almost every month. I've been there 10 times in the 12 months prior to the insolvency. And I'm just waiting when I get the control back, and you would have noticed I'm not using the word if I get the control back. When I'll be back. And I'll be back, and will the company, one thing which the biggest misconception is BYJU'S has always remained an Indian company. Even when, if you remember the times when we started scaling this, the tech-enabled model in 2013, 2014, all the startups that time, the early investors were pushing the companies to go out of India. I resisted that because I wanted to build this in India, from India to the world. So I don't understand why people talk about why I live in Dubai. Now, Dubai, I've been living here for, so this is nothing to do with there was a short-term inquiry by ED. It's got nothing to do with that.
But didn't you say that it's for your father's treatment that you came here?
Yes, that's how I came out in 2019 October outside India. So initially I was in New York, and then COVID came. The only country which was open, which allowed me to travel everywhere, was Dubai. So we took this, and I continued the treatment for Dad from Abu Dhabi, with an affiliated hospital where he was first treated, and I'm happy that he's doing and he's recovering now.
So it's not, which many people say, that even in America, those who are against you and those who have put cases on you, they're saying you're like an international fugitive. Is that a correct term?
These are narratives which they have created, and in trying to take control of the company. Unfortunately, in a company which is built on the founder's name, or where the founder played an important role in the early years, they miss the fact that if you tarnish the founder's name, it'll have a huge impact in the company's valuation. So even they overplayed that game to such an extent that it hurt today that has hurt everyone, all stakeholders, investors, including themselves. So that's a game played wrong by a few vulture lenders who are based out of US, where they created this narrative that, in fact, this is exactly what was used to create prejudice in Indian courts by calling us fugitives, by calling us that me and my brother is having lookout notices. Now, we were freely traveling to India as and when required, keeping the Dubai as a base for international expansion. So these are all wrong narratives or fake narratives. There is no truth in this. The only truth here is the fact that there was an ED inquiry which was around the company, nothing personal over there. And that investigation is closed and it's at the adjudication stage.
So that lookout notice that ED has put out, that's no longer there?
I have been traveling to India, even after the ED inquiry started. Now, first of all, lookout notice, if ED puts out a lookout notice, they will never make that public because that defeats the purpose.
Okay.
So it's a wrong media narrative around the ED investigation. It was never personal. It was on the Think and Learn's transactions, which was, other than a few misses on the filing timelines, there was never a PMLA, there was never a charge sheet. There was a summons. I went and met, we cooperated, investigation is closed. So the whole narrative was blown out of proportion.
So there's this parallels that people will draw. So you think it's a wrong thing, because when that term comes, international fugitive, then Byju's name gets like Mehul Choksi. It's not, you're not that. That's what you're saying?
Our entire wealth, an entire company was built out of India. All our the wealth which we created was made in India, tax paid in India, invested back in India. We have nothing outside India. So this is created by a few vested interests. Now, if you see this fugitive word, they only use verbally.
Correct.
None of the filings, none of the court filings, none of the affidavits, you will never find any of this. So this is just part of a malicious media campaign.
Yeah, I went through the documents.
None of the documents will have this word.
Yeah, I saw that. It's a verbal thing, and it got picked up by the Indian media, one newspaper in particular. So they use that term, and that's why I asked you about it, whether there was any meat to that term. Let's come back to that Delaware case. You were accused of stealing 533 million, which was meant to be a loan. Now, the US court has found your company and its directors guilty of fraud. Then there is the ED notice. Now, tell me whether all this is a conspiracy, or is there a problem, a serious problem?
First of all, not a single dollar of that 1.2 billion loan. This is not the 500 million. It's a 1.2 billion dollar loan which we took in 2021 November to create growth in international markets, and was supposed to be repaid in 2026 November. So initially, from a good set of it was patient capital from a good set of lenders, but by creating this narrative, some of the aggressive hedge funds or the vulture lenders, as we call, they entered the loan and they forced an acceleration. And the actual reason, so all of this, so not a single dollar has come into any of our personal accounts. It's all used for legit business purposes. given in sworn affidavits across courts all over the world. And anybody can go and verify that. In fact, it's given by me, my brother, in terms of how that money is utilized. It's exactly the opposite. The story here is, we have made thousands of crores, and it's all again proof, you can see that.
We as in which company? Now the special purpose vehicle or the
No.
or BYJU'S India?
We have raised close to 5 billion in equity capital. In that, while giving exit to some of the early investors, even family, we have done secondaries and made a few thousand crores. The exact numbers, everything is there in the affidavit, which I'm happy to share with you and share with the whole world. But we have put those thousands of crores, which is my brother and Divya and all of them, have put all of that back in the company in the last 24 months. So this question of this, and how many founders and entrepreneurs during bad times put their entire wealth back in a struggling business. Now we have done that only because there are 3 types of entrepreneurs. Like those who do it only for money, they run away when a crisis starts. The second type of the good entrepreneurs, they survive the crisis. Mission driven entrepreneurs, you can call them crazy, you can call them stubborn in trying to save their mission. So you will, the world will soon see that why we did what we did. We have put, and that's why it's even with immense pressure from home, we have put the last 158 crores paid to BCCI, half of that came from selling our only assets, only hard assets, our home and the plots in India. That's how we paid the last 150. And this proof of all of this is given. If you go one level deeper in terms of all the filings, the only evidence which these lenders submitted in one US court is a napkin where the lender side advisor has written in his handwritten note that apparently I told that money is in a place which you can never find. That's the only evidence. Otherwise, these are all false allegations. Everything, we stole the money, we ran away with the money, all of that, they don't write anywhere. It's only in media. You look at all the complaints and the only, even in the court, this thing, it's the only question is that Riju didn't do his fiduciary duty in disclosing all the details. But Riju was not having access to all of that. In the same court, I have submitted this few hundred pages of affidavit with entire detail to the last dollar in terms of how we spent not just that 500 million. You need to understand 500 million is on, in terms of how much money we have raised, is only 10% of the total money we have raised. So, and we were creating a category at that point of time. Even today we have the fact that we have 250 million students coming to our platforms. It's still the largest online learning platform in the world.
You tweeted, and I quote, "I'm not a flower, I'm the fire that will shatter glass." The accusation is that EY's former resolution professional, he filed a police complaint accusing former insolvency officer Pankaj Agarwal of orchestrating what you term as a criminal conspiracy to sabotage BYJU'S. Now, tell me what happened with that glass trust. And there's this whistleblower now, obviously, and tell me about that whole thing, what he posted, how you're fighting that, and why do you call yourself the fire?
Just a jokes apart, obviously that's a movie dialogue, but
Pushpa.
Key part which I wanted to focus on here is, maybe I'll go back on how it all started, right?
Sure.
2021 November is when we were expanding from India to the world. We created a lot of products which is helping students in India learn on their own, where we heavily focused on love for learning and not, it was always learning driven by fear of exams. We have been positively disrupting that in trying to reduce the pressure on students, in trying to create a segment of students who will learn because they want to learn. Learning driven by love for learning, right? I normally say putting the right amount of chocolate coating before we take them through the broccoli. Now, even when I was taking...
Broccoli? Yeah, that's what you mean?
Yeah, because it's, at the end of the day in education, it can't be about engagement, right?
Okay.
You need to create engagement so that it's big, and eventually you need to show results and it's effective, right? Now, that segment what we have created, globally, no one has been even today, no one has taken that place. That's why you look, search for any important concepts in math, science, or anything under the sun. Whether it's in India, whether it's in US, whether it's in UAE, anywhere. you will get your answers from BYJU'S. So what we have created with tens of thousands of employees. At its peak, we had 37,000 teachers. Most of them women teachers, those who were creating this or teaching from a small town in India. What the human side of this conspiracy is, and that's where I feel sad, because so many people for whom this was possibly their only job option available, because they can't move to a city, because a lot of people in India in small towns they're not allowed to move to a city and work from there. So what is the most saddening part is, and that's where I want, I have to figure out a way to make up for it. I take responsibility for it, because though a lot of these things happen which are not in my control, because
which is that they lost their jobs and you had to let them go.
They lost their jobs, and not just that, till the company was in our control, for these frontline teachers, we were paying personally. Last 24 months prior to bankruptcy, from 2022 onwards, 2022 October is where these guys started disrupting the company. Some random lenders, it's like they were able to influence large institutions in India, including EY, and being able to do such a massive fraud, which I'm sure the truth will come out. If you ask me why am I still fighting, I know that I have nothing to hide. Anything which I'll tell in this session, now you can ask me anything. If you don't ask, I will ask myself. Anything which I'll tell here, I will show you proof. And this will go online. I am telling you, the whole world, come and challenge me. I'll put this outside.
Why do you think they did that? What is the reason? You're calling them vultures. A vulture wants meat, it wants to feed. Did they just want to disrupt you? Did they want to take over? What is it that they wanted? Why?
Nothing personal. It's part of their business model, unfortunately. This is they get into the act during tough macro environment. So in 2021 November, so coming back is when we took this loan for growth. This was supposed to be repaid in 2026 November after 5 years. So we either used them for acquisitions or committed that for long-term growth, including branding like the FIFA World Cup or some of the R&D which we were doing in building devices. So we have committed that. So within a few months when they come back, not the lenders who gave us money, the other lenders started playing this conspiracy way back in 2022 October. So it's
why? That's what I'm asking you.
To take control of a company which is worth multiple $billion, whatever, and by spending a few hundred. So they didn't give us, these current lenders, they didn't give the company 1.2 billion loan. They created the
vehicle.
They created the fake narrative, and that created sell-off among the original lenders, and they bought this for 20, 25, 30 cents for a dollar. So they bought this for, let's say, on an average $300 million. And by taking control of a company which is worth multiple $1 billion at that point of time. Now, why did they tarnish my name? If you ask me, if you are objective about it, that's part of their business model. They act during that. So there was this 1-2 year window where the interest rates were going up. War started in Russia-Ukraine war started. So that's when these bad actors come into play. So this is not the Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan of the world. So when people say US lenders, who's glass?
Yeah, who's glass?
Who's glass? It's just a lender.
A trust, right?
It's a lender agent who claim to represent. Now why are they trying to parachute into our settlement with BCCI? Because that's the only way they can take control. Why are they manipulating the entire system? Claim on their own loan and get anything from court? Because there they have to first prove that they have the representation. They don't have the representation of 51% of the lenders. They only have 18% lender. Now these questions are not asked if you enter through someone else bankruptcy, insolvency settlement.
But the judge obviously believed them.
No, this question has never been asked, because what has happened is, by creating this prejudice, by calling us fugitives. So BCCI, we paid 158 crores. So we should have been out of insolvency on that day of the settlement, which is July 31st, within 15 days of we getting into insolvency. Unfortunately, what happened is, after that last 8 months, whoever is in control, whether it's the IRP or then later RP, they have not even paid salaries. We were paying salaries, at least we had our own liquidity crunch and all that, but we were paying salaries to teachers. It was not disrupted. Services part, students were not disrupted at all. So if you ask me why are we still fighting for it, because I feel for the students and I feel for those employees.
Did you not sniff it out? I mean, besides you, your brother, and your wife who are involved in this, there's also your de facto CFO, Anita Kishore. She's also been blamed. Didn't she not, as a CFO, didn't she see this happening?
See, in normally anything above the board, you are able to understand what's happening, right? Here, most of the things which happened, like in terms of how they entered the loan, these aggressive hedge funds, that those things don't happen like the way you think. It all happened without we knowing.
She's also been named that she helped in
anyone who's, so that's the game. Not just Anita, anyone who's trying to support me, whether it's investors, whether it's founding partners, they've been personally targeting. Like it's very difficult for most people to understand this game. This is played in a way, it's a very dirty game. What they send people to our home, they threaten people. This is only next to everywhere. Like they send people to management's home outside. They walk in, like some people sitting in US.
Threaten and
just to neutralize, so that I don't get any support, so that I give up.
You're not giving up.
I am not going to give up till we win, because we have nothing to hide, and only because I want to prove that. See, at the end of the day, all of us know that
you're that third type
yes, because it's been 20 hours a day for 20 years for us, and I never started this for money. I come from a small village. I didn't start with this for anything. I started with a lot of passion, and the people I was able to attract. Some of my the company is built with first 300 employees, all were my students. So it's a strong mission-driven company. 4 out of the 6 founding partners are still there, because they know that facts will outlive fiction.
But you were this, like you say, you were the poster child at, when you started off for edtech. But at what point of time do you feel that things started unraveling, things started going wrong? Did you take your eyes off the ball, concentrated on just expansion too fast, too soon? What happened?
See, so I won't deny, when we tried expanding from India to the whole world, we made some business mistakes. We were maybe we could have taken it a little bit slowly, we were growing little too soon, too fast. We went from India to 21 new countries. But that, if you ask me, in that context of 2019 to 2021,
the COVID era, mostly COVID type,
when it was every investor, we have 160 investors, world-class investors, equity investors. All of them, this was the mandate: grow, and change the way kids learned. It was not because we were we were raising money for growth at that time. But when the world changed, with interest rates, and when interest rate going up, when Fed increased the interest rate, and almost simultaneous, parallelly, the big war started, Russia-Ukraine. Suddenly the liquidity dried up. 700 million of committed capital, signed committed capital, didn't turn up. So we were planning all these acquisitions and growth, assuming that all this money is coming. In fact, these were signed documents. There was no litigation. We didn't go and litigate those investors who backed out because of these external macro reasons. And from then onwards, and this is early 2022, and it's almost now 3 years, we have been struggling for liquidity. But fortunately, we had enough liquidity, which we made, and I have no regrets. We have made, as I told you,
You have no regrets?
I have no regrets in terms of putting all that money back. Okay. Because I was doing that to save the mission. For the next 2 years, I told you 3 years we have been going through this challenge. Next 2 years, every month we started putting 100 crores, 150 crores, all of which is made from this mission. So that's why I'm telling you, I was doing that to protect the mission. But we missed these dirty games, which literally 1 or 2 aggressive hedge funds, they were able, it's unbelievable on how they have been able to manipulate an entire system using ENY, using Ketan, and this RP is just like a pawn in the game. I was not expecting things like this can happen. So the insolvency process, which happened because of the last 10% payment to BCCI, but we actually sold our homes and paid BCCI. We should have got the control back literally within 2 weeks of that starting.
What homes were these?
like all our assets in India, the last assets in India, we sold. So we don't, like, I see media reports of we having 10 luxury cars and 5 mansions. I can challenge and tell, show one. None of us have. Like, we stay in a rented mansion. And I know it's a big home because we have 15 people at home, but it's in a rented mansion from a friend. In fact, I'm not materialistic at all. In fact, I hate people who talk about all these. In fact, the media reported 10 cars. I don't even know half of those names.
No, but all billionaires say this, no, money doesn't matter, but it does matter.
Like, for me, it's different. Like, because I never started this for money. If I was caring about money, why will I put my brother Divya put thousands of crores back? It's like if we were only, because in bad times, who puts the money back? You show me one startup entrepreneur who has put like anything close to this back not in good times. So it's not out of greed, it's to protect the mission. So we put all our money back in the window from 2022 March. War started in Feb. 2022 March to 2024 till the insolvency process started. In fact, 1 month into bankruptcy also, we put our last few crores back to pay teachers.
I'll come back to the teachers and to your insolvency bit. Let me pick up on what you were talking about, acquisitions. You just mentioned that. Do you regret about the Aakash Institute acquisition that you did?
Not at all. It was like, it's one of our best acquisitions. Now, in terms of what happened after...
Didn't you overspend $1 billion you paid? Was it worth $1 billion?
At that point of time, that was 5% of the valuation of Think and Learn. And we thought that there is a huge opportunity to what was available only to a few students in big metros, making the same kind of options available to small towns. So after the acquisition, we actually took Aakash to small towns. So like what was reaching out to only like few parts of India, the same program, we made it available to 300 plus senders within 18 months of taking over. It was actually, it's one of our best acquisitions. Today, all this narrative around acquisitions, like we made mistakes. Like when you make 6 big acquisitions, 4 of them are doing well, but everyone talks about the 2, and that's how it works, right?
WhiteHat.
The 2 acquisitions which didn't turn out, which didn't pan out the way we were expecting, and that's also because we took those. Like in hindsight, we could have what we were trying to do in 1 or 2 years. Maybe we should have taken 4 or 5 years. Our initial 5 years, like it was all very efficient. As like from 2015 to 2019, it was efficient growth, making an impact in the way students learn in deep parts of India. To anyone who was having access to a smartphone or a device, we were making it available. You look at, there are like tens of thousands of reviews by students available online. Nobody talks about that. Everyone talks about the single-digit percentage where we would have,
because everybody is trying to find out why things went wrong. So when things go wrong, the chart on the wrong part is like WhiteHat. Why did you do that? Because the man was lying. He was selling dreams which didn't exist. Something that de facto then became that smear of lie came on you because of WhiteHat.
See, selling dreams or selling fear is not something that's not the ideology with which we started.
Correct.
As I mentioned. Now, the WhiteHat, its core offering, which is appealing to a small percentage of the students during COVID who wanted to learn how to code.
Coding for 6-year-olds, how is that going to help work?
Again, I'm telling you, like we have made, like those are all business mistakes. Now, I'm like today, like even though that came through an acquisition, the concept of WhiteHat Jr., what would have really changed is teachers in India teaching students anywhere in the world who wanted to learn math from Indian teachers. Like that's a huge opportunity lost. Within what no one is talking about is like, I know the marketing messages were wrong, like but we corrected it later. Like no, I'm not telling we never made mistakes. We did a lot of great things. We made a lot of mistakes.
The messaging was wrong on WhiteHat.
Like some messaging was wrong in the initial 12 months, but that got blown out of. We corrected all those messages. Now, my son, like all our kids at home, they learned math and coding from, like my son would have learned at least 240 hours from that. So what everyone is not talking about, please talk to the users, those who really, like what no one is talking about. Talk to 10 random parents in UK, in US who use this. There is something special about that. Indian teachers, women teachers, they are not just teaching. For most of them will tell it was almost like a second mother. Because we are very good in that, right? We don't just, for us nothing is transactional. They were learning math and today they all miss that. It's a lost opportunity for India. We could have created, my idea was to create 1 million teaching jobs. Now you can say, oh, that's such a big ambition. But where do I come from? I come from a small village. What were the odds of me doing even a fraction of what I did when I was starting off? So this eternal optimism is come from the fact that I made it out of nothing. Even the average English which I speak here is what I've learned by listening to cricket commentary on radio. I've been a self-learner throughout. So I actually wanted to create a generation of self-learners, those who learn not because of this pressure of exams, but because of love for learning. And what mistake we did so I was trying to create 1 million teaching jobs. We were just starting. We were at its peak, as I told, we created almost 40,000 teaching jobs.
And then there were those
There's one more thing. Like what mistake we did when we created 2.15 lakh jobs for fresh graduates, which just for the greed of a few random vulture lenders in US. Today all of us have suffered. And no one wants to listen to this. Everything which I'll tell, I'll be able to show under sworn affidavit in any court.
But you talked about creating these jobs and you created so many jobs. Then there were those several videos which were there on social media saying they were overworked, underpaid, and those kind of things came out. So where was this dissonance? What you wanted to do and what happened then?
100%. So when we had 15,000 sales guys at its peak, out of which even 1% of them crossing the line or aggressively selling, we have made mistakes, but all of that was in the initial years. We have corrected all of that by having enough guardrails. Now what happens is now when you we had 6 million plus students. How many complaints are in thousands? So that's, if you think of from a percentage point of view, unfortunately social media things get blown out of proportion, right? Beyond all this, now maybe there are a few thousand students and parents where we would have done overselling. We have corrected them, but we have also given the same product completely free to 5.5 million students. They are not on social media. Their voice is not heard anywhere. Today, that's why I'm not giving up, because the moment we come back in control, and 100% it will happen in whatever form and shape, and sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, because the things like this can create PTSD, but for those who are mission driven, it will be used to create post-traumatic growth.
Okay. See, when you talked about giving those tablets, giving those phones and learning through that, there was this hyper-aggressive mode that the sales force went and said, if you don't buy this, then your children, ye piche hat jayenge aapke bacche. That kind of sales mode. Similar kind of tactic was also used by many people in the cell phone industry who told people that give it to your daughters, give it to your son. There was a pushback. Some people didn't want that. हम अपनी बेटियों को phone नहीं देंगे. That thing that बिगड़ जाएंगी, लड़कियां बिगड़ जाएंगी. So we won't give a phone. There's an interview with Khan sir, also from the ed field, and he said that this girl who couldn't study further because her parents said phone नहीं देंगे, कुछ भी हो जाए phone नहीं देंगे, पढ़ेंगे कैसे? Phone नहीं देंगे तो. So you were doing the similar thing. In the sense of much before Khan sir was doing it, you were doing this, giving these tablets. So were you selling hardware? Were you selling dreams? Were you selling education? What was your goal?
We were selling love for learning. Now, in while doing so at scale, that's why I was telling you, at the ground level, a few hundred of those tens of thousands of sales guys have made mistakes, but we have corrected them. We have actually corrected them because we all now. What is missing out is for anything, there are two sides to it, right? If it's used in moderation. Now, how do you solve the biggest challenge we have in today, what no one talks about? Like, I come from a village, so I know that 20 years back, in my village, there were graduates who were staying back to teach. Today, none of them are staying back. They are all moving to cities. So we have a much bigger challenge at grassroots levels to solve today. Teachers, with the kind of urbanization which has happened in the last 20, 30 years, forget about good teachers. Schools are struggling to find teachers. The only way you can solve this at scale is by using technology as an enabler. So now I was only selling, when I say, like, the mission was always and will always be to sell. I will never sell any product which is not used at home. I am not like, because you will find a lot of entrepreneurs who create products but they ban them at home.
Your own home, you mean?
Yes, I've only sold products, I've only bought companies which I know that it's not that, I will never sell anything to anyone which I won't give it to my son, who's very special to me. So, like, whether it's WhiteHat Jr., so he has learned everything, the fundamentals of math and coding he has learned from some special teachers in WhiteHat. So I'm trying to tell that there is nothing which is, like, out of millions of students who used our product or still use our products, how many product complaints are there online? You won't find. No one will tell. Today, there is no alternate to BYJU'S. So we have to make a comeback in one form or the other for students who have not got.
Why do you say there's no alternative to BYJU'S? What is your USP that is different, that there is no alternative?
We have actually used, like, at its peak, simultaneously we had 85,000 employees. We were creating those movie-like videos and game-like interactions to make sure that students love learning, to bring the childlike curiosity back in students. What is the most important skill today? It is not about like a lot of students ask, why do I learn math? Like, parents ask, why should they learn math? Why should they learn science? People, they are all used as a tool to learn the most important skill, if it's done right, which is learning how to learn. Today, the students who are going to schools today, all of us know that 15 years later, the skill set which they are learning in school, the math and science, won't be of any use. But if you can make sure that you learn how to learn, all of us learn today. There is no other option. If it was previously, yeah, maybe you could have learned just one skill, worked in the same industry, same career for 30 years and you retire, like our parents or grandparents. It's not an option. You have to become a continuous learner. Like, you need to learn at the pace which a 4-year-old or 3-year-old learn.
But the content that you're teaching,
yeah, it's everlasting. You look at, like, today.
It is not in line with CBSE, ICSE, State Board, is it?
100%. It's like
It says it's aligned. What does aligned
mean?
mean?
It's not about, we were not selling to schools, we were not selling to, in India, parents, when it comes to education, they are brutal. 90% mapping is not enough. You need to be 100% mapped to the curriculum, because like the numbers won't lie. Today, you use, like, not just when we were, like, today we are not making money because the companies, you search for anything you search quadratic equation sitting in Dubai, use a VPN and go to Philippines and search, you will get BYJU'S. Most of the AI platforms, the results come from BYJU'S. Like, we are by far the largest platform like this even today.
So you feel CBSE has not kept up with BYJU'S, or BYJU'S has not kept up with CBSE?
No, it's not. It's not nothing to do with CBSE. Like, our products were mapped to CBSE, state boards, ICSE. So that's what we did for, like, it took us, we were building that product for 10 years. There's no one who has invested even a fraction of that globally. We get more users than Khan Academy in US. Free users. So it's like no one is talking about, so today when I am talking about users, all of them learn for free. That's why we have to protect.
So what was the
platform.
model then, if everybody was picking for free?
Like, for specific programs to go deep to personalized learning, a small percentage of very small percentage of them were paying for it. And a much smaller percentage of them is what you are talking about, which got amplified, see, this mis-selling is a 2018-2019 story. But it's the same story getting rehashed. We've been on the receive.
So why didn't you fight back then, Byju? Why didn't you break the narrative by telling them? Whoever was
telling whom? We are fighting this in court. We are not able to fight this media battle because it's who's on the other side. It's like large corporations on the other side, but we are not giving up. So you need to understand that we won't give up till we win. How do you beat a person who never gives up?
No, by you saying that we can't find a media narrative, you were so media savvy. You were sponsoring the Indian cricket team and all that. That's like a big marketing firm, right? You're spending millions doing that, right? So you know how to market your product, you know how to set a narrative. Then why can't you, if you can set a narrative, why can't you fight a narrative?
I'm not telling we can't. It's a matter of it's a matter of time. We didn't. It's like whether it's right or wrong. We could have done this 2 years back. But even for us to understand, because like I'm a first generation entrepreneur, I am not expecting people to do so many things in bad faith. I trust people blindly, and I am not going to change that style.
Why? See, after you've got beaten so badly?
Because whatever good has happened because of that.
That your innocence.
No, it's like see
trusting
where I come from. That's what I've been taught. That's like everything.
Did you expect people to have just faith because your intention is good, but your processes were not stringent enough?
Now, all of these see today you use the word the family run. It was never like that. In bad times, like many people ran away because not many people can take the kind of pressure which we go through. Just before all these challenges started, and this is not organic, right? This is a planned conspiracy, which the time will prove this, and world will see this. Like otherwise, see, you think of it. If I have anything to hide, like 2 years back, we were sitting on thousands of crores. Today, we have nothing. After finishing that, we have raised a few hundred more crores because there are a lot of good people who have supported us in the last 2 years, and they have all been targeted. They've all been personally targeted by using this cover called glass, who's an agent, right? Because it's very easy for individuals who are playing this game to sit behind.
Who's behind the glass?
Like a few individuals who are
Americans.
Americans and some of Indians who are in America, right? But Americans. But again, I won't it's a very general this thing, right? It's not. I'm not telling Americans are bad. That's a wrong thing, right? It's a few hedge funds, like literally 2 hedge funds.
Do you regret that special purpose?
The only mistake, if you ask me, which created all this is that we shouldn't have taken this when we had enough equity options. We shouldn't have taken this term loan at that time in 2021.
1 billion or something.
1 billion, because it was like we had other options. We have raised 5 billion before that. So we were not doing it out of desperation. Now it was all collective decision. Today everyone, like our board was like 3 founder directors and 3 investor directors. They were there till 2020. They were there till 2000. After that, no big decision is taken. All our big decisions, or these acquisition decisions.
What happened in that EGM when they asked you to leave?
It's all later, right? Because when these vulture lenders started the litigation, a lot of them got scared. They are at the end of the day, they are managers. They are not owners. They got scared with the potential liability. They were running for cover. They were figuring out, can they get directors insurance? Now this is not the story. Now they can't tell this that they got scared. So they just created the narrative that Byju doesn't listen. He's arrogant. Now for me, it's the other way around. There are 2 types of people, right? Those who know me and those who know of me. Anyone who has spent even 3 hours with me, they know that it's like. I'm exactly the opposite of what I am made out to be.
You get thrown out of the company you only created. What happens then?
No, I have not been thrown like those. That was not.
It's illegal. You're saying that
because if you see like some of the videos I have posted also, you'll see that it's very clearly telling the large group on camera is telling that, and which includes many lawyers.
So for our audiences who have not seen that, tell me what happened.
It's there on Twitter on my handle, so you can go and see. You can see and you can figure out whether it's like where they are clearly telling that there is no fraud. We have to make it look like it's a fraud. And that's people who are telling, they are like the top partners in these multiple legal firms representing these aggressive investors. They are clearly telling there is no fraud. We have to make it look like we have to create a narrative of fraud.
Do you have control over the company now? Or
no, I don't have the control over the company now.
Okay, so how are you planning
because truth will come out at some point of time, because in India it takes time, but it will come out. Now,
let me come to that BCCI bit.
Yeah.
Explain what happened there. You returned some money. Was there pressure on you? What happened?
No, BCCI, we paid We were like it was a 3-year
158 crores you paid.
We would have paid almost 1,500 crores before that, but the last 158 crores we were not able to pay because the company was going through a liquidity
15,000
crunch.
crores was the
1,500 crores, approximately how much that's the amount we would have paid in those 3 years when we had the sponsorship. Last 10% was remaining, which they went to NCLT with that, but the moment we got admitted into this CARP process, we arrived at a settlement with BCCI and we paid them the amount. So we should have been out of insolvency and company should have been back to us within 15 days. But that's when Glass came into these proceedings, put all those big allegations, not in written affidavits. They'll never do that because nobody will take the responsibility of misrepresenting in a written affidavit. So in court you can just come and shout. That's where all these fugitives were. They came and shouted, the brothers are fugitives. We had, as I've already told, that lookout notices. They have siphoned out money. They have stolen money. None of this is true. All these are false allegations.
There was also that guy who said that William Haler, who said that you even gave him a plane ticket to go to Dubai so that he doesn't have to testify in court.
Completely wrong. That's another false allegation. So look at the individual's track record. He's a serial fraud. He approached us telling that there is a settlement with lend. See, my objective is always to figure out a way to, if they are patient, anyone who's asking for money, they would have got their money back. By trying to burn this by targeting and tarnishing us personally, it's a lose-lose game. So when someone approached us and few of the investors who would have actually put money for settling some of these lenders, if they were patient, so he came with multiple fake documents telling that there is an agreed document for settlement. Now, as a banker, he approached as a banker, not just me. So he fooled everyone who was involved at that time, and went and gave these wrong statement in US. Now, unfortunately, today we don't have liquidity to actually have represented in US courts. If we are sitting on these hundreds of millions as they are claiming, we will have representation in US courts. We don't have $1-2 million required to fight them in US courts.
Okay. We talked about your acquisitions when we talked about Aakash and WhiteHat. What about these big ticket items? Like you had SRK, wearing a BYJU'S shirt. You had him giving. Do you regret all these, whether it was Messi, whether it was SRK? Do you think that it was just too much of marketing?
No, not in the first 3 years. Not in the first 3 years because what is that? If you want to create a new segment. Now when I say a new segment, when we launched the learning app, there was no app for learning. For someone in a small town, like for the kind of places where I come from, if they want to learn, there was nothing available that time. Today also there's nothing available, unfortunately, other than what we have created. So our place has not been taken by anyone, even with all the disruptions. Our user base, those who learn free from us, have actually grown in the last 2 years.
So what value addition was Shah Rukh Khan bringing?
When you are creating a new segment, how do you create awareness for that segment? Look at all the commercials which we have created with Shah Rukh Khan and everyone else. Or with Messi. It was talking about love for learning. Messi was talking about education for all, which is possibly the largest not-for-profit initiative in terms of the scale it reached.
One has made it in sports, one has made it in films. Where were the education? Why didn't you have it like a scientist?
They were not teaching, right? It's like, in fact, our teachers are in our ads. It was just to get the attention of people to try out, to understand that you can learn in a way where it's not a task, where you, as I told you, like finding that right balance between engaging the students and making sure that it's effective. At the end of the day, it's unlike any entertainment platform. You have to you get the engagement and then you make it effective. So it's very similar to, like, prior to launching this app, I was teaching in stadiums.
Yeah, I've seen those
almost
videos.
Like they're not like now, like it's not like a math classroom. You have to to keep the attention of 25,000 teenagers, you have to almost do it like a math concert. Now, when we got this opportunity of reaching out, that was reaching out to few tens of thousands of students. At a time, like our biggest batch was maybe 25,000 in one stadium. You can see those videos, they're online.
You were transmitting it, I mean, you're broadcasting it?
No, I was doing it, I was broadcasting over VSAT and internet. I was also going to, like, the first 10 years, I was traveling, in 7 days, I used to go to 9 different cities. Starting from, my schedule used to look like this. Saturday morning I'll do Bangalore, evening I'll do Chennai, Sunday morning I'll do Bombay, Sunday evening I'll do Pune, Monday to Friday I'll go to 5 more cities and book stadiums and teach. This is what I did for 10 years. So it's not that somewhere suddenly we got lucky, raised a lot of money. People don't understand that. And those 10 years...
Where your core competency was that you were a great teacher. And then do you feel that you were not a great businessman? That's where the problem was?
So 2004 to 2015, we scaled that to create such a big impact, tens of thousands of students. But next 2015 to 2025, we have been able to reach out to millions of students. Now we have made mistakes in those 2 years between 2021 to 2023. But all of that is, as I told you, it's like today we realize it's like, yeah, we could have slowed down a little bit. We kind of overestimated the pace or the capacity which we were building in like 20 plus new countries. We could have taken it a little slow, but what happened from 2022 onwards so that's not organic, and you can't defend against things like the below the belt attack which they were doing for the last 2.5 years.
Did you meet Shah Rukh after the collapse that has happened?
No.
You met him before that?
Yeah.
Do you think that either Messi or Shah Rukh regretted being associated with your brand?
I don't think so.
Did they ever send a message to you about this?
No.
Okay. Given a chance, would you still hire them to do this or to push your brand?
See, now I don't think...
If you were to think in hindsight, would you still do the same thing?
In those initial years, what we did in India to create awareness for a segment of... See, I think everyone is... It was not about creating a learning app. It was about creating a segment of self-learners. What is the mission? What was the mission, and what is the mission, and what will be the mission? It's like a lot of... See, you might think that in business you can say some are business decisions, but for me those businesses were based on that underlying core principle was about...
More I'm speaking to you, more it seems that it was emotion driven, most of your decisions.
But I was only driving... See, till 2019 I was involved in execution. After that we had 6 companies, and 6 companies were professionally... What no one is talking about, we had 95 professionals whom we were paying over 1 crore. Now I am telling that to tell you that so high quality professionals, 95 professionals were there across these 6 companies. So like I have, my style is, I never do micromanagement. Talk to anyone who has worked with me. I create the excitement. It's to show, get them excited about the vision, and it's like a lot of people used to tell that it's like, and that's the reason people joined us.
I did see an interview of one of your former CEOs who worked with you, and he said that was the best part about working with you. He also began as a teacher and was traveling back and forth between Bangalore, and it was like shooting and things like that. And I'm not naming them because I don't know whether I don't have their permission. He said the same thing, that it was fun to work with you because you were not micromanaging, not your teachers and not your professionals who were working with you. So he said it was great fun to work with him because he gave that open. And he said that was the best part about having you as a boss. He's also worked with the Tatas, and he said that it was similar kind of a thing where your bosses see your value and allow you to function on their own. There is a good part about that. There is a bad part about that also, in the sense that when you gave so much of freedom, there must have been some people who were greedy, who went wrong in giving you wrong advice or keeping you away from the fact that things are sliding down. Where do you think?
That's true. It's all like, as you say in cricket, you also, like, a lot of times you also get out playing your best shots, right? So it's like what, but you can't change what defines you as a person, like giving that freedom. Now that's why I became an entrepreneur, because I got that. Otherwise, you look at how many, like in those years, in the 2000s, today it's like today there is a wave of, like there is that entrepreneurial mindset which is coming across the youngsters in India today. But in 2010 to 2015, how many entrepreneurs have come from like small villages in India? Those who have gone to a government school, a Malayalam medium school, or like Hindi medium school. It is only because of the freedom which I got from my dad. He has given me the complete freedom. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. I do that. If I can be half as good as him in giving that kind of a freedom to my son, I'm sure I'll be a good dad. So that style is, but that is what created so many great entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. See, today you are only seeing because of what happened in the last, which I told you, it's not organic. We have been on the receiving end of a few vulture lenders, those who have created a massive conspiracy, which 100% will come out, because nobody can run away from the fact that, because these are blatant misrepresentations and fraud with proof, which you can find, which came out through the whistleblowers who are part of that thing, and some of them, like today, they have reached out. They are my students.
Your students are exactly from the same kind of background that you were in, middle class families where they want to dream big, that through education they can get out of the trap of, sliding into poverty or getting out of, like moving forward in life. That's probably why your father also encouraged you, gave you the freedom to do what you did. And you also came out from that. From a middle class family, you became a billionaire. You were the poster boy of Forbes and everybody. You were that.
But what is the perception? Perception is that I'm a control freak, where it's exactly the opposite.
Both perceptions are there, but when
these
the
are
story,
exactly
when the story goes wrong, then of course the negative perceptions also come across. But there are videos of people who have praised you when things were going good also. But I want to come back to those students of yours. There are parents, and I'm talking about millions of them. We're not talking about a few hundred, but there are millions of them who took loans, who cut their own dreams to buy those programs, to get, and what happens with them now? They can't get their money back? They can't get, what happens? Refund doesn't happen?
No, that's like first of all, there were no millions of loans. That's wrong, because I know the number. No, there were millions of students who got our product, who happily learned from the product, and who like finished their courses with the product, right? The disruption is only, if you ask me, the disruption which happened unfortunately, and that's where like I apologize to all those students. Even if it's one student, it's still it cannot happen. That's the reason why the moment we come back, I'm still thinking of how to compensate for those few students. Now this few is not one or two, it's a few thousand students who missed out because of the disruption in the last. When is the student disruption started? Only from September, because even in August, our last few crores which we had, we paid to teachers. But this kind of the insolvency process, which is a rigged process, it never happens that where you stop paying teachers. So the glass went and took a stay to make sure that salaries are not paid. That's not the objective of any bankruptcy law. So I feel sorry, and I'm apologizing to those few students who missed out because services were disrupted, but the product part was not disrupted. The entire course. In fact, that's another, when things were going very well for us, unlike, we were not ruthless in cutting the businesses down, because you can't do that when it comes to students. You have to see to the course completion. So we didn't do. That's another. So when all investors who were asking us grow, overnight they told that, okay, markets are changing, now cut and shut down businesses. I didn't agree for that. I didn't agree for that. Now, business-wise, you can say that we can't be ruthless. This is education. So there, the teacher in me stood up, and we didn't shut down the businesses. We had to complete the course, like that, and that's true even for WhiteHat Jr. Once you make a commitment to complete the course, you have to finish the course. Whereas if it's an entertainment business, we could have just shut down the platform. No one would have suffered. So there's in education, that's why good teachers will never leave, because teachers do change institutes, but they will never leave halfway through. Because the real teachers, the good teachers, because now people get money, but it's not the teachers. Teaching is not a highly paid profession in India. But what is the most satisfying part of being a teacher? And I see that even today. 78-year-old father, when any student see, I can see his eyes lighting up, and that's true for me, that's true for Divya. Like the biggest satisfaction and so it's teaching is one of the most satisfying jobs, and that's what that's why it's an unfinished dream for us. India, this is a space, this is one segment which we should own. This is because students are hungry to learn. Parents want their kids to learn. They'll go to any length to make sure that they'll sacrifice everything else to make sure that their kids are.
But it's not a dream that you're willing to give up, and you keep saying.
This is the only thing I'll do. I've been doing this for 20 years now. 2 years of struggles, like which has strengthened me. So it's like I'm telling you, it's like I'm not faking anything here. I had gone through the toughest of. I've seen the highest of highs, right? Coming from, but I've also seen. But where do I come from? If I'm someone who will be worried about, I had thousands of crores, now I have nothing. I don't care. It was never about that. So this whole conception about, I have never done this. So I'm an engineer by chance, a teacher by choice, which made me an entrepreneur by chance. But businesses can fail, business mistakes can be made, but true entrepreneurs, they never fail.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. I'll prove that it was always about the mission. That is why it's foolish, right? Like everyone today, even people who walk on the road, see, it's like all this, like as
they recognize you here in
everybody who's like, because it's not just because of, see, in good times, I used to feel bad that why am I getting this much credit for what everyone else is doing. It was always a collective effort. I am just in fact, people used to tell that I'm leading a cult in a positive way, because I used to get everyone otherwise. In 2011, when I was actually attracting my students who went to IIMs to come back and joined us without any brand name, we became a brand only in 2015. It was I was only like selling them the vision of changing the way students learn.
When you see all the media, when you got all the awards, your company got all the awards, did that give you a high? Or was it the millions of students who recognize you, who say thank you, that gives you a high? And what gives you the low, that you let down students?
I get the answer is the same. I get the biggest happiness when students see me and they come and like, there's a lot of love. You come with me now outside in Dubai, like go to any, because it's like, this is like an extended India here, right? It's like almost an extended Kerala. Like you can see the love. You can see the love. But like in social media it's different. Like people sitting there, like love is private, hate is public. All of us know that. But you just come out with me after this, you will see the love, and that's what keeps me going. So I have to continue the mission and change. Because
what is going to be 3.0, BYJU'S 3.0?
The mission is, see, I'm stubborn when it comes to the mission. It's going to be the same. How do we make it easy and interesting for students? Like how can we use AI not to replace teachers but to enable teachers to become better teachers? How can we move the bottom quartile of students to the next one or to the next one? What is the easiest way of telling that? You call me like a great teacher. I was a good teacher only because any student because I have taught tens of thousands of students, right? Millions of students later. One thing which they will all tell, and that's what keeps me going, and that's what like is even in the toughest of times what is giving me the energy to go on and on and on, because it's not been I didn't run away. I'm like, because if it was about money, like in bad times, like anyone who's doing it for money, they'll start another business. And especially when we had so much money, right? The data is there. It's not, there are years where we paid thousands of crores in taxes. So everything which we have built is in India, from India to the world.
You keep saying I didn't run away, but the optics are that you are sitting in Dubai, so
wrong
you ran
narrative,
away.
Wrong narrative. That's a wrong narrative. I have always lived with my family. First in my village, then in Bangalore, and then here for a different, like how everyone thinks. The ED inquiry started 2023. I am outside India from 2019. 2019 October.
I guess people realized that you've been out only after that.
So a lot of good things happened because, see, I was anyway never micromanaging. That time India was on autopilot. I was outside India. Primary reason was to take care of my dad, and I made sure that, because it was late stage cancer, and because like those 10 months I took him to New York and I made him all right, and So like now it's not that I took my eyes off the ball. I was anyway never micromanaging. I was not like I always I don't even like now. This is like some of the most successful entrepreneurs. Like you just create an environment of intrapreneurship, and that's how you build. If you want to create a new segment, that's you have to create a lot of owners and not operators.
BYJU'S 3.0. What are you going to be promising parents? Why should they trust you if that trust has got shattered in some way? Most people would think that why should we trust this man again? He's mismanaged his company. Can he manage my son's or daughter's future? What do you want to tell them?
Okay, so it's all like that's again I'm coming back to there are more students who are on a BYJU'S platform today than 2 years back. So all this.
How many students do you have?
Like we get across our platforms, we get 250 million students coming to our platforms. That's 5 times more than anyone who's if you can even call them a competitor. So how can and like most people who comment about BYJU'S have never used any of our products. Who are our users? Are students. They are not on social media.
So you have all these students and you have no money.
Yeah, today because the liquidity crunch is there.
So what are you going to do then?
No, it's been built in such a way that they are still learning, even though no one is running it. The people who are in control of the company, they have no idea. They don't understand how this works. They have not paid salaries. So where the services part is involved, there is disruption, unfortunately, and that's what that's why I owe to them in terms of giving them something when we make a comeback.
So they are working with no salaries. They're teaching.
There are core believers in the mission. Those who are actually in the last 12 months in the background, they are building the BYJU'S 3.0. I am not in a position to disclose what that is going to be. I can assure you that it will again be built on the same mission, which is to create the love for learning for students.
Are you going to go back to those stadiums because that's how you were doing? Is it brick and mortar classes or is it going to be purely online?
Everything which we'll do will create an impact at a scale which we've been able to do before. Because initial years also, when I started, my first class was for 35 of my friends. But by the time I took my 8th class, there were 1200 students, pure word of mouth. And then we were forced to move from a classroom to an auditorium to stadiums. So if 100 people attend the first session, by the time the second, third, fourth, it used to grow like a geometric progression.
Where are your students mainly right now? Are they based in India? Is it Middle East? Is it Africa? Is it Southeast Asia? Where are they right now? And what is going to be your focus for 3.0? Students from which area?
So initially all the students were from India, but in the last 3-4 years, since we scaled this into multiple geographies, today 60% of the students are from India, 40% are from many other countries. So the new product is, it's like you have to disrupt your own business anyway. This time this is not in a way it's a blessing in disguise because we are forced to disrupt.
How are you going to be using AI for your students, for your teachers? What are you going to be doing?
One, today for the first time there is an opportunity to almost productize the services part of it in terms of having one personal tutor for every student. There is an opportunity because of what the AI is already able to do, right? Even 3 years before, well before generative AI was in fashion, right? Before ChatGPT was launched. If you look at the products we have built in 2021, we were combining what the students are doing on a paper in front of the device. Now, most people don't know all this. These are all pure innovations coming out of BYJU'S, where you write and solve a math question in front of a device which has a downward facing camera. That's what we have launched as Learn Station, which hundreds of thousands of students use that.
It comes in a separate window.
And no, it's like as and when it's almost like a learn buddy watching over what you are doing in a paper and will intervene only. So there is no intimidation. A lot of students, they are scared to ask questions to teachers. But if it's a friend who's watching over, the proactive intervention only if it's necessary. That's the right format of learning. That's why the teachers playing the role of a mentor or a friend.
So the shaming of the student doesn't happen there.
Like, though it's like our classes are supposedly interactive, you tell me how many students actually stand up and ask questions.
That's what I'm saying.
Forget about students. How many in a group? How many of us are like what is wrong in asking a question? You ask a question because you don't know something. What is wrong in admitting that you don't know something? Most of us have that false ego which doesn't allow, and that's been built from our classrooms at a very young age, right? So that is where in those kind of places you can like today that can happen almost seamless using computer vision, using generative AI. It can like almost start predicting the kind of questions which the students will make, and then make an intervention without them realizing that there is an intervention.
See, in our newsroom, we already have now in the world, including in India, we have an anchor who's a AI generated anchor. So will there be like Byju 1, Byju 2, Byju in Southeast Asia, Byju in Africa? Will you have several people who look like you?
I think you kind of, if a lot of people ask me on what are the two, like 10 years down the line, because it's entrepreneurs have this knack of predicting what the students want, right? Because our learning app became a runaway success. Literally within 2 months of launching it, we got 10 million students downloading it. It's been downloaded hundreds of million times now in the last 8-9 years. What we built in 2015, if you ask me, there's going to be two way, like everyone should learn how to use AI in different ways in their field, right? And the second important thing, because you kind of brought that, I was just recollecting what I was thinking in the last few days. You need to build a brand, personal or company, and you need to learn how to use AI. The introverts can use AI and they can still make a huge impact, and extroverts can build a brand. And if you can combine both, nothing will be able to disrupt that.
At one point of time, you had marquee investors, big names. Now, after all these troubles that have taken place, will you be able to attract investors for Byju 3.3?
So when we launch this new product, right, a lot of those investors will come back. One thing which the general perception is that everyone lost money. That's not true. All the series A, B, C, D investors made a lot of money. Some of the early investors made, on a 50 million investment, made close to 500 million. So when the time is right, like today, in the current environment, there is no option for investors to come in, right? Because almost everybody, because I am fighting to protect what we have built, not announced anything new. So the moment we start that, see, the investors come like they only operate on like there are two extremes, right? They either operate because of greed or fear. You can literally define everything they do like for us, I'm living my dream. So this is my life's mission. 20 good years, 2 bad years. Again, next 20 will be good.
Okay.
And then there is no timeline. I'm not putting any pressure. If I am living my dream. I am privileged to make an impact. So like now, people ask me a lot of people have been asking me where is this kind of optimism even in? But that's what has kept us going. Now, why shouldn't I fight? Why shouldn't I fight to protect my mission? What I built over the last, 85,000 employees built over the last 20 years, and especially when I know that we have not done. There is no fraud here. If there is fraud, we won't put thousands of crores back. People take money and run away. But this is like what gives me the kick is making this impact. So when we make a comeback, one thing which is, it will be on the same mission. We'll be flexible in terms of how we'll operate. Like it's going to be because we have learned a lot of lessons. We have learned a lot of lessons, right? I'm not I'm never putting the blame on others. Just like I have told you that I used to feel bad that I'm getting all the credit, though it was a collective effort. Today, I am the fall. Everyone is trying to make me the fall guy. I have no complaints over that. So, but now I'm not feeling guilty because I'm also getting a lot of flack.
And you have a goal.
To
bring the football.
I know imagery. Because we anyway like how to use the technology but the mission is going to be the same, right? How do we make sure that like if you bring that spark back in, even like every student who learns how to learn, you're not just getting them ready for exams, you're getting them ready for life.
When you're talking about
like this is what this is what we live for. Like you talk to my son, you will immediately realize. If he tells me that I don't want to go to school today, I'll tell like because I know that he will learn a lot more sitting, but I want him to go to school also because that's where you learn social skills. You need to go to school to play football, to play cricket, and not in you need to learn how to have those life skills you don't learn inside a classroom. So like I might have disagreement with her, but it's like but because I have already created like I have made him a self-learner already.
When you talk about spark, when you talk about dreams and how it began, I have to get Divya onto the podcast. We've requested her to join us so that we know how you both started and the struggles initially, the good days, and now the struggle again, all over again. So let's get Divya onto the show. We're now going to be joined with Divya Gokulnath, wife of Byju, who is a co-founder of BYJU'S. Divya, thank you so much for joining this podcast. So how do we introduce Byju? Will you call her the spark behind it? Will you call her the face behind Byju? What is the how do you want to show yourself out?
What do we do? Don't call me the flower. Fire is okay.
Okay, so tell me, from being one of the richest women entrepreneurs, how did it all begin for you? A girl from a Fauji background, you crack the GRE, and then you get into teaching, and then you meet the man of your life. So tell me your life story.
Okay, you said from being the world's richest woman, I mean one of the
entrepreneurs, yes.
That I don't know when it happened because I have never seen the money. Okay, I have always been married to a man with 2 t-shirts and 2 jeans. Okay, and he won't discard the jeans if one is torn also. Okay, so it's just the same wardrobe, black and blue. That's it. So nothing has changed. We've seen the highest of the highs, we've seen the lowest of the lows, and I'm grateful that where it matters, it's fine. Like family is good, father-in-law is recovering. My mother-in-law unfortunately is has been diagnosed with first stage Alzheimer's, but we're all together, right? And I feel that's where it matters. That's what keeps us together and helps us go strong. And starting the story, not as I would say like I was more privileged than he was. I came from a middle class family. I have army background. My father was in the Indian Air Force, so and the only child. So they invested heavily in my education. And like in every Indian family, education was very important, but also being part of sports, games, all of that. So I have also played multiple games, from basketball to swimming and all of that. And I in most I should say especially South Indian families, you either become an engineer or you become a doctor. And I come from a family with 4 uncles, 3 uncles. Father is a doctor, 1 uncle is engineer, 1 CA, 1 CS. So lot of counseling on what to do. Went for medical counseling with my father, but ultimately took biotechnology in engineering because at that point of time my aunt was in the US who was a major in biotech, and she said, this is the future, you will come here once you finish your engineering.
We're talking about 80s, 90s,
this
2000s?
80s, 2000s.
2000s.
2000s
Okay.
Where this is the time when biotech was up and coming, and I had clear set plans to go abroad. And my aunt and my uncle, who is an engineer from the IIT, had settled abroad by then. At that time it was a big deal. Not many people were leaving India. This is when they left in the 90s. So we would go to the airport and see them off. It was a big family function. Now someone's going to the airport, okay, go. It happens all the time. So I was about to pursue my masters, and then my English was okay, good. Math was good, but I believe I didn't have enough confidence in myself that I was as good as I could be. And so my father said, there is this person, my father said, there is this person who's teaching math, why don't you go and brush up your skills? He wanted me to get 1600 on 1600 in GRE. All my mock tests I was 1520, 1530. So he thought you'll get, it's an Indian parent's aspiration. Jab tak 100 on 100 nahi milega, why? Where is that 1 mark on? So I enrolled for math classes and
in Bangalore.
In Bangalore. with Byju. So I call this number, okay, and somebody picks up the phone and I'm like, I want to enroll in BYJU classes, because that was what was written at the bottom of there's a sheet which he used to give out all the students, and then the person says, yes, yes, but it's full, the batch is full. I said, I'm a university topper, I'm a rank holder, I will definitely be able to do very well. And he's like, look, the batch is really full, there is absolutely no place. Okay, but I pressurized and I got my way through, and I said, please, I just need one seat, I'm really small, like I don't take much place also, I'll just fit into the classroom, just one seat. Okay, and then the person gives up, and then I go and I attend the class and I learned math. It was a session packed with students, packed, very few girls, mostly guys, okay, and since it was a session on math, people were there preparing for CAT, preparing for GRE, with a simple motive of doing really well in the quantitative prep. And I sat through that session and I was blown away. I took a book and a pen, but I didn't have time to put down a single point because he was going so fast. So this is the class. Byju was like, this is the AP, this is the GP, this is how you do it. I'm like, my God, it was super fast, super speed. And I couldn't even, but I learned math in a way I had never learned before. And so I was like, this is a beautiful subject. And most importantly, I learned that confidence is key to everything. With common sense, you can answer almost every question, and life is not about an exam. These are the three most important things that I learned. It is always the journey, and in that journey, if you become a better person, the exam is going to be worth it at the end of it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. So he taught us, and so the student that I'm only 7 years younger than him, okay. So I say this because now, since it's on Google that I was his student, my son's friend came running to me the other day and said, auntie, you are uncle's student? And I'm like, no, not like that,
Not in a creepy manner.
No, not that. And they have a female teacher. So I was like, no, not like that. A lady teacher. So I was like, this was after when auntie was 21, 22 years old, uncle was 28, and I was learning math, for my higher studies and all of that. And that's what happened. And eventually I got a very good score. I got admission to a lot of good universities. But in that break, he asked me to teach. He said, why don't you teach? And I said, I've never taught before. I've done a lot of seminars in college because biotech was an upcoming field. We didn't have teachers for every subject. So I would say thrown. This is what my swimming teacher did. He threw me off the diving board when I was 5. Byju threw me in front of the classroom when I was 21. 100 students. I went in a sari because the students were 17 years old to look older. Now I wear that sari in 5 minutes because of that. And I taught reasoning and what came naturally to me, comprehension, and after that I've never looked back.
No regrets?
Absolutely none.
Okay, but convincing your parents that you want to get into teaching rather than going abroad and pursuing the career paths that they would have approved of. It's very necessary for parents' approval, which is probably an alien concept in the Western world.
Yes.
Was that difficult for you?
Yes.
It was.
It was difficult for me because my father has the number of degrees are longer than his name. MBBS, MD, DM, DNB, FR, CP, FISN. This is what he has studied, okay. Daughter has done BE. And they had plans of me doing my masters and everything. And like I said, I also had my aunt and my uncle abroad waiting for me with a garland to welcome me into America. Everything was set. So it took a lot of convincing. It was not easy, but then I should thank especially my father for it, because it takes a really big open mindset to let your daughter, your only child for whom you kept money aside for her education, to do what she dreams that she wants to do. And today that same uncle and aunt who obviously had to convince the most, their son is a genius. He has not completed his graduation, he's already done 3 startups.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
and then you tell them that you want to get married to Byju. How did that happen?
Okay, so this is a chicken and egg question. Okay, we don't know what happened, but 2 years after we met, we got married.
Did he propose? Did you propose?
We still live in a culture where the girl doesn't propose.
Okay.
He came home and asked for my hand, and we both were working on a book documenting all the shortcut techniques, the concepts.
What a nerdy way for romance. Okay.
There is love in math also. So Praveen, who is...
I think we've got our headline. There is love in math.
So Praveen, who's a very dear friend and a co-student with me, part of the founding team, he's with us even today. He always says, "You guys crack jokes that only both of you will understand, math jokes. Nobody will get it." You know, and maybe those are the similarities. While we are different personalities, there is also a lot of similarity in terms of values, the love for family, and yeah, many more things.
Okay, so you decide to get married and then you join the company. What did your goals and his goals match? Did you realize that this is not just teaching, there's a business element to it?
Yes, in fact, it was started off passion of teaching, and it was all about teaching that led from one thing to the other. And honestly, there was no time to think because these were all back to back sessions. Right? We took it one step at a time, but by dreaming big, those steps became leaps, they became jumps, and before we knew it, we were filling stadiums, and we were broadcasting across the country. And so we realized, look, we have to go from thousands to millions. We have to tap into technology. So that's why in 2015 we went from stadiums to smartphones. We started from teaching physically in classrooms. The 5 or 6 of us would come in front of the camera. There was no big team. We would be the producer, we would be the director, we would write our own script because we knew our concepts inside out. We would act in front of the camera and the learning would come to life. What was different about our videos was that there was always a teacher in the front. So the students found it very relatable. And we used animation, it was like magic, where a teacher, turns a circle, cuts it open. So children were learning very visually. Most of us are visual learners, 80% of us are visual learners. To make a student like that just understand from words or boring diagrams doesn't make sense. So we brought learning to life. And that was the USP. So a lot of time went into that. Business happened. It happened by chance. Did we envision that it will become this big? No. But the minute we launched the app, or in the first couple of months, millions of students started downloading the app organically. And then we realized we need to scale this. And you asked the question about Shah Rukh. It was to create awareness that this kind of a product is there. Because initially, even if you look at the map of India, there was a lot of concentration from where we started, which is Bangalore, in the south of India. But you should look at the map after Shah Rukh became our ambassador.
There were grey zones.
All over. It was all over India because people started understanding, because the concept of e-learning was very new. Back then people didn't know. How can you use online learning? Everyone heard about there is e-learning, there are learning apps. But how can I use it to try it out for the first time? Because all it takes is to try it out, to understand how it can impact how you learn.
Also, I guess the technology hadn't come in, right? People didn't have tablets all that much. They didn't have cell phones. And it was during COVID when schools shut down, where everybody realized you got to do it. That also must have impacted?
The first thing that we did when COVID hit, which was very unfortunate because children were restricted to the houses, is that we opened up the learning app for free. And we saw huge surge in the adoption, and we turned our homes into studios. All of us started teaching from home again. That was the second cycle when we again returned to live classes and teaching, and we would do, like in school you have a structure which children follow, 8 to 9 a.m. maths, 9 to 10 a.m. physics. We replicated that structure by teaching. We would go back in front of the camera and teach. So yes, COVID increased awareness of how e-learning could help. We saw a huge surge in the number of students. So we also simultaneously launched the app in multiple languages. It's there in 12 Indian languages. Across India, students started using the app. But also another important thing is, at the same point, 2020, we launched Education for All. Because while we saw an increase in the number of paid students, we realized that the students who need it the most may not be having access to this kind of learning, which is their only way to learn. So we launched Education for All in 2020, which was exactly the same content. Given we partnered with over 130 NGOs, multiple state governments, and gave the same content for free. We said, okay, within 5 years we'll cross 1 million students. We've already crossed 5.5 million students. At that point, it was within 4 years, 3.5 years of its launch, we had crossed 5 million students. And for every paying student, we had one student learning under EFA.
Did you at that point of time feel that, okay, we've expanded so much, but once COVID is over and children go back to their classrooms, there could be like the numbers could fall? Was that a possibility?
The numbers could not have fallen from the initial level prior to COVID, because the awareness was so much more during COVID, that while we would not have usage during school hours, which should anyway not happen, children should be learning in school, post school, because remember that we exist outside the classroom. We are after school self-learning. So the number only went up. In fact, it is still very high.
Actually, this whole misconception around this, we started well before COVID, right? 2015 to 2019, pre-COVID, those 4 years were golden years for us. We grew from zero to, in terms of business numbers, 0 to 1,500 crores in just 4 years. We were break even in 2019, if you look at our financials. In fact, COVID and that's trying to expand too soon, too fast into many more countries, that ambition of trying to take this from India to the world, because we saw an opportunity everywhere. In fact, some of our investors wanted us to get into 40 countries. We went from 1 country to 21 countries with multiple acquisitions. And if instead of trying to do that in the next 2 years, if we have taken similar to what we did in India, 4 years of good organic growth, like we wouldn't have struggled. So,
do you agree that that is what happened, too much too soon at that stage? Did you see it happening? Did you see that expansion is happening? Did you disagree? This happens with couples who are entrepreneurs. One is so involved in day-to-day running, and both of you were doing that. You were holding classes. It's not as if you stepped back and you just became managers. You were doing actual work too. So, I mean, actual work in the sense of actual classes too. So did you not see this happening, the mismanagement? What was the reason?
See, the expansion happened, the products were similar, but the expansion happened in terms of reach, in terms of new geographies. So for us, if we were doing an investment in marketing, if you do, for example, FIFA, you're covering the entire South American market. If you're doing, like say, for example, if you're doing Messi, right, as an investment, it covers a large market. And at the point where this macro changed, the investments were already made. It had to get more localized at that point of time, when we had to suddenly put a stop to a lot of things, which you cannot do in education. If that had not happened, all of this would have been justified. All that had happened would have been justified if not for the external factors which hit us.
When these legal cases take place, you get named in it too. Were you involved in the business aspect of it?
So the strategy we now come to understand is that try and weaken Byju by blaming and pulling everybody around him who supports him.
Which is your brother, your brother-in-law, Divya. You?
Now the latest, because they don't know, not many people are left, because co-founding partners, Vinay, Anita, just pull anybody and anyone. Even our lawyers have been threatened. They've been told that their license will be cancelled. I don't want to take their name. This is the level to which we are being intimidated, or they're trying to intimidate us by sending people to our homes.
You're being threatened?
Yeah, by people just walking into our management's house. And I cannot believe, and that is why I am disappointed, that why are we giving so much importance?
Are these people who are being threatened, are they living in India? Even if you don't want to reveal names?
Yes.
India, no, they send everywhere. Like they send people who look like goons. Like they think we will get intimidated. They don't know what we are made of. They don't know where we come from. So, but that's not the case with everyone, right? People get scared when somebody walks in, intrudes into your home in the context of not having answers. So,
what are they trying to say? That break your links with BYJU'S? Is that what they're saying?
I think indirectly that's what they're trying to say. They're saying stand off, maybe, or create a lot of reputational damage so that you say, okay, you know what, I'll stay out of this. It's not going to happen, because there is truth that binds all of us together. There is the final mission that binds all of us together.
Have any of your colleagues reported it to the police?
They're even scared to report to the police, because most people are like that, right? So they are not even willing to report it to the police, because that's the level of intimidation, right? Because some of them are part of the top management, girls. So they don't want to be, because they are scared that if they take that step, they'll be, basically they are telling that we know where you live, and some random people walking in, and they are not willing to even come out, and that's the level of intimidation, right? Because these are large organizations.
Now, I asked this to Byju also. I'm asking you also, that it's not as if you are completely zero as far as media is concerned. You know how to handle the media. You've been successful during the good years, how you were handling the media. Why did you mess up later?
I'll be very honest, we've never been proactive with media. If you look at any of the news, we are not people who many people will know personally. People would have heard of us and know of us, but they won't know us. Right? That's because we don't move in large. For us, it's all been heads down and hearts in, doing our work, building our apps, serving the students, building a large team and creating impact in our way. So even this media, I don't know where that perception comes from us. Even in the good times, we didn't do interviews, and it's all been
just
inbound.
All inbound. It just happened because again we were the beneficiaries of that kind of. See, again, as I always tell, nothing is as good as what is written in the media, but nothing is as bad as what is written in the media. Right? It's always like life is somewhere in the middle, right? So in the first 4 years, it's not that we were proactively approaching media, because every month there was fundraising, and what was getting reported is only that part of the story, right? Fundraising, billionaire, this, all of that, thousands of crores raised, 10,000s of crores raised, but it's then suddenly when and that's why I'm telling you it's not necessarily organic, right? A lot of this, auditors never talk to the media, but for the first time our audit, everything was coming in the media. So there is something which that time we were not able to understand, but today we know the reason, right? This is a very clear
orchestrated effort
at taking over the company.
Do you want to name anybody?
He's already named.
You're saying it's clear.
No, initially we took money from good investors, right? But as per the credit agreement, these vulture lenders are not allowed to buy the loan. So they literally broke all the rules. And so all this, we are supposed to pay this back only in 2026. We were paying 40 million of interest, 320 crores of interest every quarter. So there was no financial default. Do you know the reason why the loan is called back? Because that's the only mistake which when we'll never do that again, right? Because we won't raise this kind of syndicated debt where anybody can buy in the back door, right? So when these 2-3 lenders of the likes of Redwood and Edgivora, right? It's more than that, some individuals over there who literally tried taking over the company, they basically bought this for a few $100 million, and they are trying to, the reason for default is, and we are an Indian company, right? Parent company is based out of India. We were not able to give guarantee for one of our subsidiaries because of an RBI regulation change. Now, the legal impossibility around giving that guarantee is what is used to call a default. There is no other, it was not a financial default. And they are able to, that's why they can't come to India through a proper route without manipulating the entire system by using the EY Caitans of the world. They can't come. That's why they are not pursuing their own, they can come and pursue their own claim, which they are not able to do.
When you're talking about these vulture investors, there are also, during the peak, you had BlackRock, you had Sequoia India, you had Chan Zuckerberg, you had all these people putting in. So when all these investors don't they flag it to you that there are things going wrong? Did they flag any of it?
No, basically when we raise money from term loan, all investors, all of them were super excited because this was coming at a very low interest rate. Everyone thought it can be used for growth because we used it for growth. And after using it for growth or committing it for growth, even within a few months when they come back and ask for the money by calling out these technical defaults. In fact, you need to understand that they are coming to India by calling out a breach because we followed an Indian regulation. This is the bottom line. Because we followed an Indian regulation, which we have to follow, that is what is getting used against us for some. Now, why is it that we are we are yet to get justice? We'll 100% get justice because they are coming to Indian courts telling that we followed an Indian regulation. Now, I don't want to get into the specifics and details, but at the end of the day, that's the only reason why they are forced to manipulate the system by using not just it's all done at an institutional level. This massive fraud is done at an institutional level, and they're literally able to manipulate the entire system to keep us in bankruptcy, where the actual settlement has happened. Those who asked for the money and those who paid the money, and we didn't use the company money. You need to understand that we use personal money to settle BCCI. It should have been over at that time. Company should have been back on track. It's not that today nobody is running it. These guys sitting there, didn't pay salaries, not doing anything. Like it's unbelievable.
You're a co-founder. Letting go, how difficult was it?
Letting go of?
In the sense that the company runs by other people now.
It's probably the most difficult thing, right? Because your company is like your baby. And to add to it, the name is BYJU'S. So that means a lot. It is the last name of all our 3 children, right? So this is more than a company. But ultimately, it's not the company that we are married to. It's the mission that we are married to. Somebody should ask this question: does Byju need BYJU'S, or does BYJU'S need Byju?
You tell me the answer.
Anybody who has worked with us and has experienced the products will give you the answer.
Ask any of the thousands of employees. You are just telling, you talked about the negative feedback I wrote. I just came on LinkedIn. Please look at the LinkedIn feedback, because that's where like there are genuine users, right? Like Twitter, you will mostly find negative comments on anything, but look at LinkedIn feedback on. I've only posted 3 times. It's 95% positive there, and look at the kind of users. They're all, because we gave first job to 2 lakh plus graduates at salaries from literally 7 lakhs onwards. And that getting the first job, we all know is the most difficult thing in India, right? Nobody gives jobs to freshers, right? Respectable jobs to freshers. Now, I'm overwhelmed by the support which I am seeing there. Overwhelmed, because I was not expecting, because we see, now I feel sad that last few months, because of what has happened, we are not in control. We can't do anything today, right? Even when we don't have money, if we had personal money, we have actually paid. Have you ever heard of founders, promoters paying salaries when the company is in bankruptcy? You won't be able to name a single scenario. We have paid that.
How did you feel about that when the homes were sold and everything was gone?
Honestly, I sometimes ask myself, is it worth it? Byju is an eternal optimist. He is hugely positive. I'm a bit more realistic, because maybe I also, if he was, I would say, available less before all of this started, he is literally available 0 now for the children and the family, because mentally, when you're absent, right? Physically, you can be present. So it's a huge toll on the family, aging parents, and the fact is nobody asks him, neither does dad, and mom unfortunately is not in a situation to realize what's happening. But dad talks to me. He says, Divya, everybody has a house. We don't have a house. What do I tell him? And he has seen the highs of the highs, where he has seen that his son has been adulated, and it's like, we don't want it, right? For parents, this matters. They read. My parents ask me, is everything okay? Of course it's not okay. Of course it's not okay, but you have to tell them it's okay, right? For them, you have to say it's okay. And my son comes from school. He says, you know what? They were looking up on Google, and my friend said, you know what? Your dad is getting sued. I was shocked, and I said, what did you say? He said, I told him every big company gets sued. Pepsi gets sued. Red Bull gets sued. You don't know that? So us is a very big company. So these things happen. Everybody will sue each other if it's a big company. And I thank God for the maturity of that 11-year-old, And then another person asked him, oh, I heard your company is bankrupt. He said, if it was like that, I won't be coming to school every day, no? Everything is fine. But his maturity is so high that so far he's taking it in his stride. But my biggest fear, Smita, is that We have been wrongly accused of this. The children, the impact it can have on them as they grow, they're not growing any younger, they're growing older. And we owe it to dad for the freedom that he has given him, for him to see that the world sees the truth. For them it matters. Like Byju, if Byju has a circle, if I have a circle of 10 people, Byju has a circle of 5 people. Okay, it's that close. Like we don't go out, we don't party, network, nothing. For us it's been about the company, it's been about our family. Now I don't know whether that's the right thing we did or the wrong thing we did, but that's how we are and we won't change it. Right? Finally, when things turned south, people who mattered were with us. Our circle did not change. It also kept us grounded when we went so high. So
then what are these stories of you having homes in Singapore, flashy cars, in Dubai you have several homes, mansions and all? What are these stories then?
I wish we had one house. Like honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I wish we had one place that we could call home. I'll be very honest with you, unfortunately we don't. And never own. Byju's like least interested, and so am I. I also don't know the names of the cars. For us it's the same upbringing which our parents had for us. Invest in education for your children and invest in things that will make them good individuals when they grow up, right? Or give them an environment of love. That is why our parents are with us, surrounding them, because we want them to have that environment of people who will love them, give them, and the more love you give, the more secure they grow up. I'm a strong believer of that. So for us, our friends have not changed. It's exactly the same people, nothing is, and all of this is untrue. We don't own any luxury car. We do not own any luxury home. Yesterday my mother was telling me, everywhere you are taking on rent like this. This is rent, some friend is giving you, some house you buy. Now how do I tell her that we don't have liquidity to do that? Right? Today in US, judgments are passed back to back to back to back to us by one court because we don't have representation.
In Delaware.
Yeah. I'll show you mails where they say give us $1 million. Lawyers saying give us $1 million or we won't represent. Where do I get the $1 million from? If we were sitting on $533 million, this would not be the situation, right? We'll be fighting in courts, we'll be throwing money at lawyers, we'll be, I'm sorry to saying it, but buying the narrative where we could and giving our side of the story. Do you know, after he came on LinkedIn, 2 times it has been attacked because of the love on LinkedIn and brought down by bots. And then we restored it again and again. We had to restore the account. It's because it's authentic. Because when he comes up and talks, like you should read each and every comment on LinkedIn. It's flooded with love.
Do you want to come back to India?
I do go to India, and I'm always in India.
Byju and you come back and live in India. Do you want to do that?
Of course.
You do.
Of course. It's just that, but when we came here, also I feel for the children, stay away from the limelight. It's a good thing. You know, it turned out, when we came, it was a business requirement and a health requirement for dad. Dad is still undergoing his treatment, you know, but eventually, yeah.
The reason I'm saying it is because of that terminology which he busted in the thing that it's a fake narrative of being international fugitives as is being used, so that you're not seen as somebody who's run away from the law. Do you think that that's a step that you could take at some point of time?
Honestly, whenever it matters, we'll always be there. It doesn't matter where we are based.
There's no lookout notice in the sense that if you come to India, you won't be stopped at the airport or anything.
I went like just a couple of months back.
So none of us have. In fact, I'm just telling you the irony of if there is a lookout notice, ED won't give a press statement if there is a lookout notice, because the whole idea of lookout notice is when someone is coming, you need to catch them. So this is all part of a look at the journalist who broke that story. It's a journalist who has never written about us in the last 10 years. It's all like it's very unfortunate.
So
now I will when we come back, when we get the control back. That's not a conscious use, because there is, you cannot suppress truth forever. There is no, and we are not going to give up. There is no, all this, it saddens me that, but for my dad, like my only thing, the only race against time for me is the fact that I want to like show him, he knows that his son can't do anything wrong. It was always like that. So like everyone at home, and it's not just the family. See, how do you think that there are a lot of great people who have really stepped up. So that's why I am not I don't want to play the victim card here as much as, because all the bad people you read about them, those who are supporting us, that's why I was telling you that love is private. You right now you come with me, you see the love from students and parents.
He keeps saying all through the interview, all through the podcast, he's been saying when we come back, not if but when. Do you share his optimism?
Of course.
You do?
Of course.
Because it's impossible for him to that's my traditional mental state, I guess, to think that unless you are there to share his level of optimism, it's hard to fight back. The kind of people that you are saying, because they are power, money, everything combined. So do you share that kind of optimism?
Yes, I do share that kind of optimism. You should ask him if that's important. I think it is, that we share it. Because I've noticed that, right, he's always very positive. I go through ups and downs. It's been very, very hard on me, and it's because we get personally, if you ask me, it's not about, honestly, I don't care about the money, right? It comes, it goes, and Lakshmi can come and go. Saraswati is with us. Goddess Saraswati is always with us. For me, it's about the tarnishing which has happened, which I feel is so unfair. I feel a bit let down, because for us it was all about what can we do for our country and not what the country can do for us. So we are a made in India, made by Indians, proudly, made for the world, product, service, company, people, students first company. Right? At the time when people were going abroad and setting up their companies, because that was much more lucrative, we resisted it. We said, no, this has to be a make in India story. We will make our products in India, we will give our services from India, and we will be an example for the world in education. Because education belongs to India.
To the parents of these children, any message you have?
For that, this is the way my children also learn. From us, from Byju, from me, from our teachers, and this is the best way that they can learn, and they can be assured that this is how we teach our children at home. They don't learn from us personally, they learn from our methodologies, our teachings, our apps, our products only, not like gaming entrepreneurs who create products which they don't give their children at home and get the rest of the world addicted to it. Right? We believe from the bottom of our heart in the products that we create, and so it hurts me so bad that people say that, you know, we did this wrong, that wrong, but nobody talks about the beauty of the product, the engagement that it has brought, the kind of children who never had access to good learning, having access to learning, the deepest parts of the country. We don't expect any adulation. All we expect is that what do I say, the simple acceptance of the fact that this is a chance for India, this is a chance for us to really have a global benchmark, and we were racing towards that. Like, so just before we took that $1.2 billion loan, we had 2 SPAC offerings of $44 billion, and at that point of time, and then the markets turned, right? We were thinking, should we list 44 billion? Okay, and it's anyway never a valuation game, right? Valuations can come and go, values are forever. So this 22 billion, 0 billion, 0, it doesn't matter. It's ultimately about the millions of students who are still with us learning. You search quadratic equations, search anything, a BYJU'S video, BYJU'S article will come up.
So today there are, when you guys started, there weren't so many edtech companies. Now today there are so many.
Not to create the love for learning.
That's what I want to ask you.
Yeah, not to create, because
where is it?
It takes first of all, it cannot be built thinking about. You can't build something like this by raising VC money. For first 10 years, the core of the engine was built because they all came. I was able to attract top students to come and build a product like this. When I am talking, we would have invested at least $2 billion in building these hundreds of thousands of hours of videos and interactives there is nothing else. If you know something else, please tell. Everyone else is in helping students for test prep, creating that spark for learning, love for learning. Now you can ask why all our investors and we all see, again, I'm not putting the blame on investors. I'm someone who takes try taking every possible hit.
It's the rotten apples among the investors.
Yes, it's just 3 or 4 investors. It's like you can see the conspiracy video is there. It's like they have done where it's a very clear attempt at, and some of them combining with 1 or 2 of these lenders in trying to take control of a company, and unfortunately some investors or in that group have made more money than this is their best investment in India. Some of them, it is actually their best after making just to protect their side of it, because suddenly when litigation started, they got worried about their personal liability, so they just created this narrative. But again, it's like I'm just telling you, the origin of this is these 1 or 2 US lenders and not the equity investors. So all the equity names you mentioned, it's not that obviously they have not come to support us, but they have been passive, majority of them.
When you launch BYJU 3.0, do you think that you will be able to attract similar level of big marquee investors, and how will you make the pitch? Isn't there some kind of a bitterness that has come in because of all the lawsuits?
I'll tell you, in January 2024, we were launching a rights issue, okay, which got derailed. And most of the investors would have participated in that rights issue. We were just raising 200 million. It is because of 2 or 3 vested interests. Now we understand what's happening. That entire thing got, otherwise we would have come back in, none of this would have happened. If you ask me, that was also a massive change in plan, right? It was, now we understand all of this has been orchestrated. There has been
some of the investors, we have got that conspiracy video from some of the
other investors who are
supporting investors only. But to answer the question, the way we are going to come back is going to be, the model is going to be very similar to the early days. Today, the current technology allows you to build and create high impact offerings with a very lean team. So we are going to build this in a very sustainable, by taking a long-term view, but by bringing in external capital only when it's absolutely necessary. So if people are wondering that last 2 years there's only been legal this thing, but everyone is in for a surprise. Let me just put it that way.
And investors don't.
So this optimism comes from optimism is not because as we entrepreneurs are all like supposed to be optimistic. It's not because of that. It's because of we have built everything from, if you build a company from 0 to 20 billion and from 0 students to hundreds of million students in no time, nobody can take that away from us. Now, the reason why we are not giving up on BYJU'S is because we owe to those students and those and teachers and the employees who trusted us. So we owe to them to bring it back and compensate for, even as I mentioned, even if one student has missed out in the last 6 months, I will, today I apologize to them, but we'll compensate for it.
See, for this kind of entrepreneur, there has to be a certain madness in genius, right? To start from scratch, reach to the billion. Once you reach the 1 billion mark, then it doesn't matter how many billions, I guess. So to reach that, come back, and then to start again, right? You were there when that upward journey was going. You were there for the backward journey. Do you want to just give up at times and say, let's do something else? Don't want to do this.
Whatever we do, we'll do it in education. Whatever we do will help students learn better. That is for sure. Now, why are we fighting? Because we know we are right. This has been unjustly taken from us. We have settled this, just to put it in terms of timeline. When the insolvency happened, we sold our very last asset and settled it. We said, fine, you know what, all we want is, we need to continue servicing the students and parents. We can't let this happen. So we did it. And in spite of that, because the company for the last 8 months has been just, it's a stay, right? It's like it's in a frozen state. And one of my very close friends said, it's on ventilator, right? That's what it is on. But the students are continuing to learn. So there is more in this than meets the eye, than what's being said, then what the perception is, there is a lot of value in what we have done, what we have created.
You've created value in the name BYJU'S, but it's also being associated with a whole host of issues. Has there been some kind of talk that dump this company, leave this, start something new, so that the baggage of earlier company is not there?
No, the value is so high of the brand. Like you spoke about the investment in marketing and would we regret it. Last 2 years we've invested zero in marketing. But because of the awareness and because of the usage and because of the efficiency of the product, even now millions of students are using it. So that means nobody has any problem that BYJU'S, like this is a very news aware, Twitterati kind of a, I mean sorry to say that, but that kind of a perception at the grassroots level. If you walk into like a hospital or anyone and then if because the surname gives it away, so they'll say BYJU'S app, my child learned from it, so useful, so good. That's what I hear, like it's unanimous. I walked into a room with 30-40 people, normal, like day to day people who are in normal jobs, be it restaurants, small restaurants. They'll say BYJU'S app. That's when you say BYJU'S, they'll say BYJU'S app, very nice learning, my child learned so well. We meet people who have learned now from us from 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standards, have got a job, come here. They're so grateful. When you see that kind of gratitude, you can't give up.
Divya, do you believe in the India story?
100%. That is why we have done what we have done and we have no regrets in doing what we did. And you asked me, right, about 3.0. I'm so excited talking to you about it because we both don't belong in courtrooms. We belong in classrooms. That's where we belong. And these classrooms, which being based out of India, is our biggest advantage. It's a country where there is so much respect for teachers, so much respect for learning. And
what does money mean to you? You've seen it coming, you've seen it going.
I never saw it come, I never saw it going. I'll be very honest with you. All of this is, like I said, right, this valuation, yourself, it was all the company. We've invested only in one place, in only one mission.
We have no other investments. In fact, it's like you will find, and you know why we did that? Again, that's why you told that it's borderline crazy. It's because I don't want that 1% dilution, like as people say that, oh, somewhere you can potentially make more money, whether that can corrupt that original mission. So I have no other investments. My entire investment is in BYJU'S, and like we had an opportunity to invest everywhere, like all other entrepreneurs put money here, there. I told you initially itself, I started the session by telling that there are money-driven entrepreneurs, there are good entrepreneurs, and there are crazy mission-driven entrepreneurs. We are not serial entrepreneurs. But I am living my dream, so I will never complain just because we had 2 tough years.
I'm going to ask you a question which you can tell me to shut up and not answer if you don't want to answer. Many Western millionaires, billionaires, when they see troubled times or when they see happy times, both ways, it puts a lot of pressure on the marriage. What happened with yours? Was there a lot of pressure?
We are bound together in a family with 3 wonderful children, okay, and
our biggest assets,
parents.
Our biggest assets. People ask about what happened to assets. Our biggest assets is like 3 wonderful kids.
You will get trolled for calling children assets now.
That's what you live for, right? Because we are only like...
Nobody's trying to take them away from you, thank God for that.
The biggest asset is our family. That is the glue. What other glue do we need? And we are mission. Obviously, I get mad at him at times. I'm like, what are we doing? And then, after probably one session of, and especially when there is so much, it's so much pressure, I'm telling you. It's borderline, it can get borderline hostile. It takes a lot to make it happen. It's not, like you said in Western culture, probably say, okay, you know what, thank you, I can't take this anymore, I'm going for therapy. Both of us have not been for any therapy. Our therapy is our children and our parents, and sometimes each other, okay? But I mean, sometimes that's all you need, right? When at home, they come, they run and they give you a hug. I'm telling you, I'm not saying this, that's all that matters. It lowers your blood pressure, it reduces your heart rate, and it does.
And there's it's not just, that's the advantage of what always everyone talks about, right? A traditional Indian family. See, we have always lived in a joint family, right? Like I'm telling you, like you come home now, there will be 15 people at home. We have a team, like there are enough kids to play football in the evening when I get half an hour. It's not just me, my parents, brother, his family. When her parents come, my wife, Riju's wife's parents come, cousins. It's like it's that community is like, so you never, like people say you are lonely at the top. All of that. It doesn't happen in joint families in India.
So these Indian traditions, you feel that is what gave you that bonding to keep up with.
We swear by Indian traditions. We swear by Indian traditions.
No, so you don't feel lonely because like there is a community at home, and it's not just a family at home, right? I told you that I don't want to name those people because then these lenders will go after them. So there have been so many people who've been like, I can't believe why they are supporting us. There are people who are just telling that I became an entrepreneur because after seeing your story, because I got the belief that I come from a village, I would have never dreamt of becoming an entrepreneur. So I am willing to support. I'll do whatever it takes. It's unbelievable.
But there are also people who worked with you, who lost their jobs. There are people who said there were toxic environment and things like that. To them, what would you say?
So, just continuing first with his message, even I have got messages like employees saying that, ma'am, I've worked for some time with BYJU'S, now I'm working somewhere else, I've saved 50 lakh, can I give you? You know, as you rebuild, I'm standing with you. These are the kind of messages we get. And when you spoke about, now answering your question which you asked me, see when you scale, and you have 85,000 people, this is bound to happen in single digit percentage. It happens everywhere. And love is something which is private and hate is something that's public. Someone who's very happy, even if you like a product, you're less likely to go and rate it. If you don't like it, something went wrong, you're more likely to go and rate it. It's just a mentality that if there is an issue, you go and vent it publicly or you let people know.
Anonymously, if you can do it anonymously. People don't do that. It's like people don't even have the guts to come and tell in person if they have an issue, right? Because they'll do it. That's why you like in Twitter comments will be negative, but you look at the Twitter likes, that will be 10x.
You came late to social media.
Just now, because I came just like a month back. Because
whose advice were you?
I want to come and tell the truth because it's like nobody is carrying, because the names involved are big names.
So there's this big industrialist. There was a company which went after him, came out with a report, and in one of the answers that he gave in an interview, he said that we were just working hard. We were working in a business. We made mistakes, we made successes, everything. The problem is that we didn't have a narrative. We didn't put out a narrative. You were the face behind BYJU'S. Do you feel that the narrative that was put out was insufficient, was wrong, or what would you think?
I would not say it was wrong, but definitely we could have that's what I said, right? Looking back, could we have spoken more about, what we did, this is what we built, this is whom we are, how much we are doing. It was not like us to go on top of a mountain and scream out that, okay, this is the good work that we are doing. We believed that if you do the good work, it will eventually show. In fact, we met multiple people and said, take the product for free within the government of, there were people who took it, there were ministers who took it up for their states, revolutionized, because that's what finally mattered to us. Are there enough students who are getting this kind of learning? So agenda, we never thought about, we should think about perception. Today I realize, my God, how important is it? Because perception seems to be more important than reality. It's very difficult to accept and digest that, but
but last 2 years we could have spoken more because in hindsight everyone is wise, but last 2 years we were literally
I would say we were also under shock when it came, and then we were thinking, why
and plus it's also
so many lies.
When you were talking about marketing dollars, right? We were spending a lot of money with all the media houses. It's not that we last 3 years we have not spent any marketing dollars. So it's not that because we were using money only for the most important things. When the liquidity struggle started, and again I'm telling you, it's an engineered one, right? This distress is an engineered distress to take over the company. Today you might not understand that completely because some things have to come out, but when large big names are involved, like a lot of media, they don't want to write. So it's a mass. What has happened within India with EY and Ketan is a massive fraud. It's like proof is there for everyone to see. Nobody is even denying it, but no one wants to carry.
Okay. Well, I hope after this conversation, more students log in, more whatever went wrong is rectified, and wishing you both the best of luck from us.
Thank you. I just have one wish that the comeback, I just want to make sure that my dad sees that comeback.
Okay, that's important.
That's my only wish.
Clearing the name?
No, he doesn't. I don't need to clear my name in front of my dad. I want him to see we making the same impact.
For you, what would be that? Is it the same?
Yeah, because within us, we know that we have done nothing wrong, but it's important that the world sees that we've done nothing wrong, because people who matter to us sees what the world sees. And for them, that is important, because I want my family, our family, to walk with their heads held high. They are proud, but they should continue to be openly proud of us.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for watching or listening to this edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you have seen this or heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind. Click here to watch the previous episodes.